the MCG has had a couple of days to just calm down. There may be one or two people that still haven't left, still in disbelief over the mayhem that India and Pakistan played out on Sunday night. As it turns out, we're expecting perhaps slightly more sober affair as England and New Zealand, the two favourite teams you think in Group 1, are both in action, not against each other. It's a nice double header at the MCG, first double header at that venue, and we've got England v Ireland first up, then we've got New Zealand against Afghanistan. So we're going to be building up to that. Thankfully, we have an on-time toss and an on-time start on a day where weather is supposed to play its part. Let's hope that doesn't happen. It was quite a disappointing day when South Africa had to lose a point to Zimbabwe, but England and New Zealand would both be expecting to get the job done. Could Ireland and Afghanistan possibly be a banana skin in today's contest? It's Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. Anil Kumble in studio with me. Again, we'll sit back and enjoy playing the objective analyst. Do you mind these early mornings at all, Anil, for an England-Ireland game? Our part of the world, they're early for me. I think you're an early riser.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I think early morning is actually perfect for me. But it looks like both England and Ireland have taken the weather with them to Melbourne. There's some rain around, so hopefully that will stay away for a full game, because it's a double header, like you said, and it's important that both teams, England and New Zealand, later on would be looking to get full points from this game.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really talk about weather playing such a big part in Australia. We normally reserve that part of the conversation to where our two guests join us from. Rise and shine, hail and hearty. Good morning, get your black coffees out. Both Niall O'Brien and Sam Billings. Let me give Niall a second or two just to gather his breath and his thoughts. Sam's been up all night waiting for this, right, Sam?
I'm not sure about that. I've just got up, but it's a pleasure to be with you, and look forward to hopefully seeing another England win.
All right, Niall, if you're going to be waking up that early in the UK, you want to see an Irish side to give you some reason to celebrate, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. We're normally just getting to bed around this time, 4:30 a.m. We're just used to getting to bed. Yeah, there we go. It's lovely to be with you again. Looking forward to the game.
All right, brilliant. That's a start if you'd like one. And Josh Butler started well. England are going to be bowling first at the MCG. I guess a lot of questions would be around what kind of MCG are we going to expect, Anil. The final is going to be here. So we saw India versus Pakistan. We saw the ball do all sorts of things. So we're going to keep an eye on conditions at this ground.
Yes, there was a bit of grass, and we saw India-Pakistan, the bounce and carry, and also the seam movement. There was a bit of swing as well. So yeah, everything in it for the fast bowlers, which I'm sure England will be looking forward to, and it's a good toss to win with some overhead conditions to consider as well later on. But I think the pitch at MCG has certainly changed. It's early part of the season in Australia, so yes, that's something that I'm sure all teams coming into MCG will be aware of.
Yeah, England have gone into this unchanged. Now remember, they've got 2 games in 3 days at the MCG. It's a big one against Australia in a couple of days' time. There was a question posed to Josh Butler on whether he'd like to maybe rest and rotate a few players. Looking at England's fixture list, he says no reason to. So it's the same 11 that brushed Afghanistan aside at Perth on the opening day of the Super 12 fixtures. Sam Curran will continue to do a job at the death, you'd think. We saw Chris Wokes bowl the 19th in that game. Adil Rashid bowled the 17th. Mark Wood was fiery at Perth, and here he is now at the MCG. Otherwise, the rest of the top 7 pretty much pick themselves. They've put faith in Harry Brooks. Sam, that is England's best team, I guess now. It's not like they picked a team for conditions at Perth. They have stuck with the same 11 that beat Afghanistan. Like the look of that side?
Yeah, it's a fantastic side. The batting depth is phenomenal. You've got Sam Curran coming in at probably number 8, and then you've got Chris Wokes, Adil Rashid after him as well. So amazing batting strength. The only other question is you could even get another bowler in there. One of the batters in the middle order would miss out. But I think one of the big things with England one-day cricket over the last kind of 7-8 years has been the consistency in which they back players, and that's why the success has come. So no surprise that they've gone with the same team. Like you said, the hectic schedule with guys like Chris Wokes and Mark Wood struggling with injury in the past. I was a little bit surprised that they're both playing, but yeah, the strongest team definitely.
As we brought up this point in our preview as well, Sam, about England as a death bowling force, if there is an Achilles heel to this side, is it possibly in the bowling department with Reece Topley being ruled out? Now, Mark Wood's done really well for them. We just bring up how England do when Mark Wood performs for them. And invariably, when Mark Wood's picked up a couple of wickets or more, England win 85% of the time. So there is an X factor to Wood. We understand that. It doesn't look like Wood's been given a lot of death bowling responsibility though, Sam. That seems to go to Sam Curran and perhaps a mixed bag on the other side. Now, I think you in our tournament, before our tournament, said Chris Jordan should probably feature in your ideal 11. But is that still something you're looking at, how England go about their death bowling?
It's something that has unfortunately been something that's been very conscious within the side, and the stats don't lie. Over the last kind of 3-4 years, that has been the area of weakness. The batting has certainly been the strength in terms of England white ball cricket, but Sam Curran's rise to prominence in that role has really been amazing. Captaining him in the 100, he's someone who I went to in that phase of the game, and someone who really wants to be that character to step up for England. So the left arm option also provides a huge threat and definitely an added bonus. But it's somewhere where sometimes as a captain, using Adil Rashid as if the wicket does offer him any help, it is another option that you can go to, especially if the boundaries are of the bigger size around the country in Australia as well.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Curran's doing a job for them, but fair to say, Anil, if you're coming up against England, the bowling doesn't threaten you as much as the batting?
No, I think what England believe is their batting depth. That's something that they have always relied on in terms of the white ball format, like Sam mentioned. Especially in T20, their batting is all the way up to number 10, and even Mark Wood can swing the bat. So in that sense, I think the compensation that they sort of are doing is with the bat, and they don't mind the mixed bag of having bowlers in the death. When they're defending a score, that's when I think the bowling will come under the scanner. If they're bowling first, I think they'll back themselves to get that score because of the batting depth they have.
All right. Now, Ireland's batting would keep in mind that if we get a score here, then that's our best chance and to put this England team under pressure. And of course, there is some weather about in this game. But Andy Balbirnie has confirmed that there is one change. Simi Singh's been left out, and there's first World Cup game for Fire on Hand. If I've pronounced that right, Niall, take me through that change and tell me a bit more about the selection call.
Yeah, Fionn Hand. Yeah, he's
Fionn Hand. There you go. Fionn Hand. All right.
Yeah, there you go. It's all good. He bowls good pace. Actually, he's a good cricketer. He bowls good pace and can give it a good nudge at the back end. A bit of a late pick late last summer against Afghanistan. Got drafted into the squad because of injuries. Made his debut. Good cricketer, bowls kind of what they say in the as Sam and the professionals say, heavy length, heavy ball, slams the pitch hard. And Simi Singh, to be fair, hasn't really featured to date, so I'm not surprised they've made a change. Simi hasn't really got going with the bat, he hasn't really got going with the ball, so it's a good opportunity for the young kid Fionn Hand to make a statement. For Ireland, the batting needs to fire. Against Sri Lanka, they batted first. They were harry-carry. They were playing shots, and slightly unorthodox shots in the power play, and they lost the power play against Sri Lanka and ended up getting a subpar total. So I think for Ireland, they need to get off to a good start. Obviously reliant on Sterling and Andy Balbirnie, but they need to also look at the game England played against Afghanistan. They weren't chasing a huge total, and they lost some early wickets, and they lost away a little bit early England. So Ireland, there's no point trying to get 200 or 210. Try and get themselves to about 165, 170 at the MCG. Get themselves in the contest, and if you're in the contest against England, anything can happen. There'll be a scrap, there'll be a fight, but Ireland need to get a good power play, and that's not going to be easy against England.
I like that you bring up getting into a contest with England. They don't play a lot of T20I cricket, England and Ireland. Niall, of course, I want to ask you about where the what the temperature of the rivalry is right now. We remember one of the great England-Ireland games in an ICC event in 2011. The O'Brien family remembers it very fondly, I'm sure. But has that rivalry just cooled down a bit, or is there still some needle to it?
Plenty of Neil. Don't you worry about that. There's going to be plenty there. There might not be 95,000 at the MCG, but some of the Ireland fielders will make Davin Milan and the likes of there's plenty of people there. I tell you, the last time Ireland played England in the T20 World Cup was in Guyana. and Owen Morgan got 50 odds, very slow 50, but very useful 50 to get England to about 120. And we were chasing. I think we were 14 for one after 3 overs. I'm convinced 12 years down the line we were going to win that game, knock England out of that tournament, and England went on to win the World Cup. So actually, Ireland officially, if it wasn't for rain, would have won that World Cup in 2010.
All right. I had nothing to say. Sam Billings, care to respond?
God, he needs to go back to sleep, doesn't he? It's a bit early for Niall, I think.
Okay, I can tell you.
I think he was spot on. Yeah, I think he was spot on though with the focus on Paul Sterling. What a player he is, and we see him so much in the county scene. He really is a top class talent, and from an England point of view, getting that wicket and putting Ireland under pressure, he really is the key.
I think this tournament could do with one of the Ireland's not an associate team anymore; it's a full member. But we know that when they come up against England, there's significant disadvantage there. But we could do with that sort of upset, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think you want these teams to do really well. It's really nice that Ireland qualified, Netherlands qualified, Namibia played really well.
Yeah.
You know, they lost out very narrowly against UAE. It's great to see Zimbabwe in the Super 12s. So it's, yes, you want these teams to do well. I think they have the ability. It's just the opportunity that they get to play the big boys, so to speak, hasn't been that forthcoming. So if they continue to sort of play tournaments and play the big boys more often, it helps in their development, and that's something that I'm sure ICC will have to closely look at in their development and growth. Otherwise, it's going to be come World Cups, if they're only turning up once in 2 years and playing the big boys, it's always going to be a big challenge for them to sort of move up the ladder.
I mean, this is the one you'll cry they always have, right? It's not only the associate teams, but even a number of the full members don't get to play enough T20I cricket with the big boys. Let's hope that this is again an opportunity for them to show why it's important that they have those sorts of fixtures. Now, we're at the MCG. It's going to be a challenge for Ireland, for a number of teams. Even India and Pakistan had to tweak their game to adjust to these big boundaries. This is a first ever T20 World Cup in Australia. And Gaurav Sundararaman, our senior data analyst, as always, has dug up some numbers that give us some nice insight into what teams perhaps need to think of or do when it comes to six hitting, which England, of course, are known for better than other teams at these big grounds. Let's go to GS.
One of the hardest decisions that England may have to face is regarding their template. Why do I say that? They're actually going to be playing in much bigger grounds than what they normally do. I was looking at the numbers with respect to each and every venue in Australia. The MCG, where they're going to be playing at least a couple of games, and that's where the final is also going to be held, is a very, very tough venue for players to come and hit sixes. When you look at data across all the stadiums and venues in Australia over the last 2 years, MCG is a very hard place to score sixes as well as score boundaries. Most of the runs are scored by running ones, twos and threes. We saw the other day also when India played Pakistan, Virat Kohli and Hardik Pandya actually ran a lot of runs in a tight chase. Yes, the odd sixes are possible straight down the ground, but the side boundaries are so long that it's very hard to hit sixes. England have the second best balls per six among all the main teams since the start of 2021. I would like to know whether is it easy for England to change their approach when it comes to such ground dimensions, or will England continue to stick to their strength and try to hit sixes over those big boundaries?
Okay, valid question. And we saw a lot of data on that card, but it tells you a simple point that GS was illustrating, that you've got to run a lot more at these grounds in Australia. The boundary percentage is a lot less than it is in grounds in, say, in the subcontinent or even perhaps in England. Let's go to Sam. Sam, England, of course, love to almost show the world they set the standard when it comes to six hitting in this format. Do things change when they go to Australia in a World Cup?
No, I don't think so. The mindset will be, of course, exactly the same, but there's always been a constant encouragement about smart cricket. So adapting to each conditions is something as a professional that you have to do. So yeah, they'll be very aware of the different challenges the MCG kind of have for each game. So for us, it's about adapting and using actually the game the other night and seeing how Virat Kohli played at the time when obviously Harris Ralph, that amazing shot that he hit off Harris Ralph. He still hit straight down the ground off kind of a back of a length. So watching that and seeing that as well, combined with all the running, it's about learning from the other players and seeing what worked well on those conditions as well.
Yeah, I'm just curious though, Sam. When you come to a bigger ground, do you suddenly start changing what sort of spots you're going to target, or is that in any way affect you when you go out to bat normally when it comes to say six hitting? Okay, a lot of bowlers going to bowl short to me because the side boundaries, square boundaries are big. Is there a way I could sort of not take that on and try and do something else? Do those thoughts ever come in, or do you just say, no, I just have to hit it harder to clear a bigger boundary?
Again, certain players, Liam Livingston, I think, will just keep on swinging and take on any boundary. But yeah, like a Milan, so thinker about the game. He's so precise in his preparation and also thinking towards how he's going to formulate an innings. He will be someone who, not exactly the best runner between the wickets, but he's thinking about these tactical things that the bowlers are going to try and do. So, I mean, I think it's pretty notable that the spinners have taken some pretty early punishment in the tournament compared to pace bowling, and you'll see the intent go up as soon as spin comes on to try and hit the sight screen. Just at the MCG, always in the Big Bash, that's something that we're very conscious of when you turn up there. That spin you're going to try and take on, because spinners obviously have to bowl a little bit fuller, and that's where, as the tournament progresses, you'll see the spinners have to adapt and find out different ways, bowl slower and a little bit shorter into the pitch.
Liam Livingston doesn't care about boundary sizes, Anil?
Not really. I think his method is to just go and blast the bowlers and put the pressure back. But he's very smart. He takes his time. You know, people think that when you look at Liam Livingston, he just goes there and smashes boundaries. But if you look at the way he constructs his innings, he takes those 4 or 5 balls to just knock it around. And if it's there, he's going to go. But he doesn't go looking for a boundary the first ball or the second ball that he faces. So, yes, he certainly has the capability. Like Sam mentioned, I don't think England will look to change their approach. They'll certainly be aware of the bigger boundaries. And of course, in Australia, in certain places, you have to also consider the wind factor. Yeah. You would want to hit with the wind, and that's something that you will be aware as a batter and also as a fielding team.
Niall, anything to add to that when it comes to, of course, these big boundaries and six hitting in Australia?
No, I just think it could play into Ireland's hands, really. You know, running between the wickets, they've got a couple of very young, fit. They've got a young team, really, like Lorcan Tucker, Harry Tector. These guys are young guys. They're fit. They're healthy. They can run all day. So I don't think the Ireland openers are going to be too keen on running. I think Sterlo will just look to try and hit the ball over the fence. But I think for Ireland, it'll be very important running between the wickets. But I think for Ireland, when they're playing against the pace, they've got to use the pace. So Mark Wood, there's no point trying to smash Mark Wood 20 euros in front of the square. I've been in conversations with Ireland in the past when you're playing against high pace and they're not used to playing as high pace. Use the pace, cut the ball over the top of point. If you're pulling the ball, get inside and pull the ball instead of trying to pull the ball in front of the square, because Wood's going to be too quick. But Ireland's Achilles heel is always spin. It's how they play spin bowling, and they're going to have to be very, very smart against England spinners.
Well, if you look at some of those names that Niall O'Brien mentioned, Harry Tector got some runs when India toured Ireland as well. He's one of their standout players. He's got a few in the last game too, and with over 400 runs in T20Is, this is his best calendar year performance. So Harry Tector is one of their standout batters. Lorcan Tucker, on the other hand, has also solidified his position at number 3. Good-looking wicketkeeper bat, and comes in at that important number 3 position. He's averaging nearly 60 or more than 60 in those middle overs. So if they have Tucker batting for a decent amount of time, that's perhaps Ireland's best chance to complement the likes of Sterling and Balbirnie. They need to stand up with the bat today. You think that's been their biggest challenge so far? If you pick up a conversation on perhaps England's, say, batter in focus, Alex Hales is always a story in England cricket, and this time it's for the right reasons on the field. You have Alex's comeback has been nothing short of fruitful, striking at over 160 in the first 6. He's average is right up there. And since he's been returning in 2022, we know that Alex Hales has made that spot of Johnny Bairstow his own. Sam, that's been one big positive. We were all, a number of people have been calling for Alex Hales to be getting another chance for England, but he's taken that with both hands so far.
Yeah, he probably didn't get the runs that he would have liked in Pakistan as a whole, but in terms of form, in terms of quality, we all know his quality. Over the years, he's done it in all conditions, all around the world. So he's a very hard man to bowl at. So tall, can play those short balls so well. So especially in Australian conditions on these wickets, he's suited down to the ground. So is someone that, as a team, you'd be really looking to Alex Hales to step up throughout this tournament. So very exciting to have him back. And not many. Well, every team misses a Johnny Bairstow, but there's not many better replacements in Alex Hales.
That's fair to say that if once Bairstow's back, it'll be hard for Hales to keep his spot, but he's doing a job for them.
Oh yes, and he also has the experience. Today will be a different challenge though, because we have found that at MCG the openers find it difficult. I mean, we saw India-Pakistan, KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma got out early, so did Babar Azam and Rizwan with the new ball. So it'll be interesting to see how the openers go, even from a Ireland perspective, because Paul Sterling is the mainstay as an opener. So yes, Alex Hales certainly has made a strong case, and he has the experience of having played so much of T20 cricket.
Niall, I'm sure Ireland would have spoken about this, but that Afghanistan game, as easy as it might have been, it wasn't the most polished performance from England. They lost 5 wickets, trying to chase 110, 12. Who knows what would have happened at that game if Afghanistan would have got maybe 140, 150. I wonder what sort of chat they'd be having, even though we've talked up this England batting for the last 25 minutes. It could all still be vulnerable on a good day.
Definitely, because it's a banana skin game for England. Everyone expecting, we're all sitting here this morning, every news channel in England expects England to win. England should win. I've said before, I think England are favourites for the tournament. So for Ireland, there's nothing to lose. So if Ireland can get a score, something around that 160, get competitive, get a couple early. Joss Butler's huge. Get him early. Best white ball batter in the world, in my opinion. Get him early. Get David Milan out there and get David Milan chewing up dot balls. Get David Milan scratching his guard. He's on 4 off 9, 4 off 10 balls, and get in his ear and get into the contest. That's how Ireland are going to get into this game and potentially win this game. They're not going to win by getting a low score and playing nicely. They're going to have to play dirty. They're going to have to use everything they've got up their sleeve, every trick up their sleeve to try and get one over England. And they've got to try, when the new batter comes in, they've got to try and get them not off 2, not off 3, and get a little bit of pressure. And then you play on the ego. Then you play on the ego. Do you want to clear the ropes? We've got 3 men leg side. Are you going to try and take them on? Are you going to hold out and just take it to England? So it's going to be a tough game for Ireland, but I think they can take some positives from watching England bat in Perth. I think England were a little bit rusty. I expect England to be better. I think England were good with the ball, but I think Ireland's batters will prove a lot sterner challenge than the Afghanistan batters. So it should be a good contest. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, Niall, I have no love for David Milan, but I was perhaps getting a bit flustered with what you were saying. I understand now why Ireland had more successful years when you were behind the stumps.
Yeah, man, I get stuck in. I didn't care who it was. I get stuck in. I played county cricket against my brother, and I used to give him loads of stick. My mum and dad would ring me after the match saying, "Stop being so mean to your little brother." So I didn't care who I played against.
You have 2 keepers on the show there.
That's brilliant. Sam's a polite one. I can't imagine Sam Billings going pa like Niall. Sam's a good man.
I have not known any wicketkeeper just being really quiet, other than perhaps MS Dhoni.
Oh, well. Okay.
No, exactly. I don't know about Sam. But Niall for sure, he sort of accepted.
Sam, would you classify yourself as from the Niall O'Brien school of wicketkeeper chatter?
So, as a young up-and-coming professional, Niall was actually at Kent, and I was a kind of 16-year-old coming up through the ranks. So, I've been influenced. I like a chat behind the stumps. I think Anil's spot on. Every keeper likes a bit of a chat, but I mean, by the sounds of it, Niall wants a boxing match. He doesn't want a cricket match. He wants a boxing match.
All right, let the gloves come off in that case. Let's get a quick first innings prediction score as the players thankfully make their way out of the field. Thought I saw a few umbrellas go up a couple of minutes back, but looks like we've got an on-time start. So let's get Niall O'Brien to give us a first innings prediction. The game's going to be set up if Ireland get runs, I guess. Simple to say, Niall, if they don't get a pass score, above pass score, it won't be able to challenge this England batting. So what's that score?
I think Ireland need 160. Also, I'll say Ireland 161 for 8.
All right, 161 for 8, nice and precise. We saw what happened in a 160 game when India and Pakistan played at the MCG a couple of nights back. Sam, first innings prediction score.
If it goes, obviously, the full 20 overs, I'm saying they'll get 144.
All right, 144. I mean, slightly below par. Just as I said it, it's been jinxed now. Players were walking out, umpires walking out, and they've taken a U-turn now. I think they're heading back. We might have a slightly delayed start as rain might play a part today, but let's assume we get a full game, Anil, in which case the score that Ireland would like to get to challenge England.
I think I'll be closer to what Sam mentioned because the first 6 overs is going to dictate how Ireland are going to go. We have seen the previous game at MCG. The first 6 overs was really tough for batting. The conditions were really tough. This is a day game, but still the conditions, overhead conditions are pretty similar to how the India-Pakistan game was. So I think if Ireland can get through the first 6 overs, then perhaps 140 to 160 is possible. But if they get blown out in the first 6, then I think England will take control.
Well, as it turns out, not that we're getting ahead of ourselves, Niall, but if we do have a rain-affected game, it tends to happen in these England-Ireland games. Ireland normally tend to be on top, as you rightly reminded all of us. I mean, does a shortened game work to Ireland's advantage?
Yeah, well, I don't see why not. Just, we all, as a player, you want 20 overs, you want a full match. But if the game is curtailed in any way, yeah, it may well play into Ireland's hands. I did check the forecast last night, and I spoke to some friends in Melbourne. They said the forecast is going to be okay today. So I'm sure it's just one of those Melbourne four seasons in one day. But a curtailed game could help, especially if Sterling can have a good power play. Ireland get off to a good start, but let's hope for a full 20.
All right, leave it there. Thank you very much to Niall O'Brien and Sam Billings, as well as Anil Kumble in studio with us. More from them once we have a first innings, and let's hope we have a full one. And we'll, of course, have you updated with what's happening at the MCG. If you can join our live homepage for that. We'll see you again at the end of the innings on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout.